Hi and welcome back to the last part of our video series, part 6 of Python Reinforcement in Management Information Systems 2, and we're now looking at functions. Functions are a really cool feature used in programming which help us to organize our code because we can put some execution of some certain task into a function with a clearly given name so we know what it stands for. As well as it is reusable. So once we define that set of lines of code which are executed within a function, we can over and over use that again. So for example, we could write code which executes a certain thing we want to execute, give it a name, and call that function somewhere else. And we already used functions like, for example, the range function or the print function. Somebody else coded it already for us. In that case, Python already gives that functions to us. And we can just reuse print and don't have to code lines of code which enable the program to print out in the standard output whatever we want to write into those brackets as a string. That function is already done, and we can give the function whatever needs to be executed within those brackets and just use that. And we want to now do some function on our own to understand better how functions work. So let's just define a function. Let's call it hello world. So let's start with hello world. Everyone who learns programming starts with hello world, all right? The idea here is that when and wherever we will call the function, which we will write in a second, hello world will then be printed to the standard output. All right. So first, we have to define a function which performs these operations, right? In example, printing hello world. So let's do that. So a function is indicated by those brackets because every function has that. A function has as well a name. For example, if we write print, that's a function. But we want to now do our own function, so we need to give it a name. Let's say my first function. However, now this might be a function, but Python doesn't know that you want to define a function. So we got to tell Python that what is following now is not already a function which is implemented, but one which will be now implemented the first time, which will now be created, defined how the function works. So we do that by telling Python that by def. Def stands for define. Now Python knows we want to define something for the first time. So we define my first function. We can give it any name we want to. But the next time we write my first function and the brackets, it will just be executed. Whatever the function's executions are. So the lines of code, it should then execute one after another. So to tell the function for the first time which lines of code it needs to run, we declare it again by a double point, and then everything which is indented, so again, everything here and not here is then executed. All right, everything with an indent. So let's do that and just think about what we want to do. So we want to print hello world, right? So print hello world. And hello world shall then be executed. All right. So if we run the code, we don't see an error, but nothing happened. It happened at the same time. Why? Because we only declared it, but we never executed it. But we can execute it wherever we want to. Let's say, for example, okay, now that it is declared, we can call it, execute it. So how do we do that? My first function, oh, there it already was. And I click it and it's there. And the brackets, and now it's called. As you can see, hello world. And then we can say like, what's the advantage of this? Well, we can do that. Now it's executed 4 times. And we could print some different code and then do that again. So it's then that, some different code, that. And you can see it in the output. Quite cool, isn't it? All right, so we declare it once and we can use it as often as we want to without writing the code over and over again. Well, to this point, let's be honest, print hello world is 1 line of code. My first function is 1 line of code. We didn't win that much by putting that in a function. But we could do more complex stuff as well and then just use the function instead. For example, we could do stuff which a calculator usually does. So we could define a simple addition machine. Let's, for example, try if we can build a calculator who adds up 1 plus 2, should then be in the result 3, right? So let's define a function which we call addition. And addition needs 2 values. The values it needs to add up. How does the function get to know which values it needs? Well, we can give the function certain values, let's say in variables, and we can declare those variables within those brackets, columns here. So we can tell it gets 2 values, A and B, or first number, second number, whatever we want to call them, right? And then we declare the function again and tell them what to do. And it should then add up A and B. How do we get a result now? Well, by giving us a return. So when we call the function, it returns a value. All right? So let's say we call the function by print addition. And we give addition 2 values, let's say 1 and 2. Then we should get the return value 3. We could do 4 and 2 as well, then we should get 6, right? So it's always correct. But interestingly, we could store that in a variable as well. For example, we could say the addition var for variable equals addition, which is 1 and 7, should be 8. And then we could print the addition var. Then we would get the 8 here because we store the addition in that and then print it here. So we get the 8 down here. So functions could run several lines of codes, even a loop and stuff like that. Could loop through a whole array, which we give the function on top here. So we can write complex code, put it in a small function, call the function somewhere with the values it should have, get the result, and use the result later on in our code again. That's the magic of functions and reusable code. So coming to the last exercise for you then, please create a function that gets a value in kilometers and converts the distance to miles. So kilometer to miles converter. The solution will be in the next video.